Frank Ross, special teams coordinator and bundle of energy and joy, spoke to the media after OTAs last week. What have you seen from Jaylen Null so far, who obviously has experience as a returner?
Speed, yeah. Definitely been a good rookie class. He can run. Excited for all those guys, and it's just the start of it. This is so early. Like the last 2.5, 3 weeks has probably been the most curve they've ever learned in their football careers. It's been, download, overload, and we now are trying to refine them fundamentally into the things we're going to ask them to do. But all the rookies have been exciting so far, and see what we can add to our current group of veterans that are already here.
Frank Ross gives me at least 2 buzz phrases a session that I've never heard before. So download, overload. I like that, and that is what it feels like. And it's part of that is by design. At least with some coaches just want to throw all the information out there as much as possible and see what you pick up, see how much you can handle. That was Tom Coughlin, old school methodology of just treat these guys like crap. I don't know if D'Amico's philosophy is quite the same, but that is something you're monitoring. Whether you're spoon feeding the rookies or just throwing it all at them, you want to see how much they can handle, how they correct their mistakes from session to session, all of that. Not necessarily as a way to figure out whether they make the team, but just to know what you're working with and to know how much you can really give them or where the remedial aspects might be. When it comes to Jaylen Null, the returner, the one concern as a draft prospect was that he did have several muffed punts. And I don't know the timeline of it or if it was a matter of just like he did with his hands as a receiver. He had a lot of drops early in his career at Iowa State. And then by his final season at Iowa State, he had actually a really good drop rate. So I would think presumably if it was something that he could work on, then he got better at it over the course of his career. I think Noel genuinely likes to play on special teams. He talked about a lot. Oh yeah, 100%. I think plus, as we've talked about, man, there are the days of DJ Swearinger allegedly saying that he doesn't play special teams. I think the days of having guys like that on the team, or at least drafting them in the first 3 rounds, are long gone. I think they do a really good job of figuring out guys who are football junkies and who want to just put me in there, coach. I just want to play football. That's really been one of the most positive things about these last couple draft classes. His thoughts on the new kickoff rule.
So the question just about the where the kickoff currently is. So definitely, I think a couple things were accomplished. From our chair, and we can't control everything. The NFL has a lot to do with that. But from a safety perspective, and I think they've talked about this openly, but the injuries from impacts down the core of the kick return play resulted in 0 injuries in the new scheme over the course of the season. So yeah, there's still a hamstring or there's still a tackler and a ball carrier injuries, but I think from a safety perspective, that mission, it was pretty accomplished with the overhaul of the format of the play. Now we got to find a way to get the results of the actual performance of the play up to speed. So now that the touchback's been ruled to the 35, the ball's going to be in play. We were the Texans were one of the more aggressive teams to put the ball in play on kickoff. I think everybody's numbers are going to probably triple, and we're going to get a 60 to 70+% return rate. If you give the ball at the 35-yard line, like 1 first down, another one, you're kicking a field goal. So I think you're going to see the ball in play, and there's more flexibility with the kickoff return alignment and not the kickoff team. So now the kick return will have some more creativity available to them in their design. So for us, doesn't matter what the rules are, doesn't matter how the game's officiated, you play to those rules. And for us, we're going to try and find an edge, create ourselves some field position offensively, be explosive in the return game, and create long fields and mitigate returns for our defense when we're covering.
Okay, there's 2 things that I usually don't like. 1, special teams talk. 2, rule changes and how the NFL handles them. And yet, I feel like they've done a pretty good job with this because, as you heard him say at the beginning of that, the injuries were non-existent in terms of just collision, classic kickoff return type injuries. And they can't do anything about soft tissue. You're on your own, fellas. That's on you. soft tissue. But when it comes to the actual collisions, the changes that they made seem to have worked. The problem was with the touchback being at the 30, most teams were just starting to say, you know what? Oh, hell, we'll just take the touchback and we don't have to worry about it. Now, moving the touchback to the 35, it's a huge incentive to actually kick the ball into that landing zone and to force a return. So there should be more excitement, hopefully, well, still with reduced injuries below what it was in the old classic phase of the kickoff. I miss the wedge and all the violence that came with it, but those days are long, long in the past. This new format, it took about 3 weeks to get used to. I like that he did point out that the Texans were one of the most aggressive teams at actually kicking the ball in play. Like they just test us. Go ahead, test us. You think we're scared? We're just going to boot it out. And I choose to believe that it's not because maybe the kicker just his leg wasn't working right last year and it was too hard for him to kick it out. And then what the hell is this hen scratching of mine? Boy, it was a great point, whatever one I was going to make. But so far so good. It's still a little weird when you see it the way you've got so many years of training, watching it a certain way. That part I can live with that and roll with it. I'd like to see the kickoff return, especially when you draft a guy like Jaylen Null, who's a good returner, especially when you have some of these options that maybe that ends up being a hidden asset and something that the Texans can capitalize on that they weren't able to before. Remember, 2021 and 2022, I don't know where the Texans would have been if it weren't for their special teams. That was one of the things that they actually did respectably in those years. So now maybe you can get back to oh yeah, I remember what it was like. Yeah, when we could bust a game wide open with a kickoff return that didn't involve either a fullback or a stocky running back in a weird way. Some more thoughts on the new kickoff, on what does fine-tuning it look like in regards to kickoffs?
Like the safety's been achieved, but you want to fine-tune it. What does fine-tune look for? What are you trying to achieve when you want it to be better? What does that mean?
Yeah, and I think the easiest way to the naked eye, and everybody here would agree, it all happens so fast, and then it's a quick muddy wall. And then the big plays were, just unfortunately, there was one crease that opened, or like Damian would kick it out the back side of it on a couple of big runs we've had. But there's been a ton of meet the wall, and then it's muddy. I think with the tweaks or the nuance changes, I think hopefully now you can get some more movement and have to really start to, as a kick return player, evaluate how to take on that block, because it could be coming from another angle. Before, it's just been toes on toes, block, and try and not get condensed and hold your ground. I think now, I hope, and I think the goal is continue to create some creative angles and ability to get some movement that you were able to do in the old run from before. So I think just creating some more space and angles without re-increasing the injury rate. Did I say that right? Yeah, so I think we're just trying to continue to find ways to create space without hurting our guys and making sure everyone's safe. And hopefully this new change accomplishes that.
Yeah, the way he describes it there, I like the way he described it. Basically, it had turned into, it just almost felt like a big exaggerated rugby scrum in a way that, yes, everybody had their places. They were lined up very close together, but there was really no chance for movement or creases or seams, where now, because the offensive players are allowed to be spaced out a little bit more and because they can take different angles, you end up getting those creases and seams. It's the difference in if you ran an offensive play from a condensed formation where everybody had to be in all the time. Unless you have Adrian Peterson as your running back, there's not a whole lot you can do there. So this should create lanes and create opportunities. So I like that. The other part of the rollout, just reflecting back on it, is remember the Texans were in the very first game that they did this in training camp last year in the Hall of Fame game, and it looked scary as hell. My first thought was, my God, guys are going to get killed on this. But they adjusted to it really quickly and ended up being basically a non-factor. And hopefully we'll have exciting kickoff returns in our life once again. Yeah, I do. Like Kasia, I know I've covered this already, but I do think it'll make things more interesting, which is all they're asking for. Got to keep guys like Frank Ross employed. Don't get rid of the kickoff and the return all together because that's largely when I pee. Okay,